Okay.
Okay, this is episode number 2. Gary has watched some of these figures, and now we're going to talk about the figures he has. If you remember, these are 35-year-old figures. Okay, so he's going to tell us the name and a little bit about them.
Well, just briefly.
Very briefly, yes. Okay.
I mean, most of you people that are in the collecting know that, like Princess Leia with the Hoth outfit. She came with a couple of variations. This is a darker hair, and she came with more of an auburn hair.
Wait a minute. Darker hair is auburn hair. So what?
No, red.
Red. Okay.
This is brown.
All right. So why does that matter?
Well, no reason. Just different manufacturing techniques, and the hair was a different color. Lots of the figures have variations. Definitely mostly from the first 2 movies, Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. I'm sure that had to do with just different facilities doing different things, different molds that they made the figures. Before Star Wars, they never really made small figures. There really wasn't what you'd call action figures before Star Wars. Matter of fact, the movies came out in '77, and they had no idea. They had no plans to make anything. That just wasn't what you did back then. The first Star Wars the figures didn't even come out until early '78. The first thing that they released was something called a early bird certificate package. It came out just available at Christmas time, so that you could send in and get the first figures that would be released. And then they started coming out on carded figures in early in '78, even though they say '77 copyright date on them. They didn't really come out till '78. But before that, action figures for boys were 12-inch G.I. Joe figures from the '60s, and very few of anything else. Star Wars started a whole new thing, and obviously now there's action figures that go hand in hand with any movie released.
And why this little bitty figure? Why is it so popular?
Not sure why they chose this size. It's called the 4-inch line, and the figures are really about 3 3/4 inches. Who knows why? I don't know if I know why. It turned out to be a good size. They come with accessories, and they try to do everything that they can to scale. Most of the ships can never be made to scale, even for a 4-inch figure. The Millennium Falcon that's not here. It would be really probably about 5 times the size of the actual toy that you got in '78, but that'd be too big for people to have. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about some of these. This is a Biker Scout, or Speeder.
From what movie?
Return of the Jedi. Weequay from Return of the Jedi, one of the Skiff Guards. A Rebel pilot, Nien Nunb from Return of the Jedi. One of the first 12 action figures, Death Squad Commander. He's actually, in decent shape. Most of the paint, he gets a lot of paint loss on the helmet, the black. But, first look, he looks pretty good, but we'll look at him a little closer. Thought there was a couple of these. Got a couple of these AT-AT drivers. Commander, excuse me, AT-AT Commander, not drivers.
What's the difference between a driver and a commander?
One has just a basic costume with no face. He's got a face. His name is General Veers, but the action figure is just called AT-AT Commander, but General Veers.
So how many Star Wars movies have there been?
There has been 9 movies in the Skywalker trilogy, and then of course 2 other movies, Solo. And then one other movie. What is one of my favorites, the one that goes back takes us right back to the original Star Wars. The name is, can't think of it right this moment, but you guys know what it is.
So
Rogue One.
Rogue One. Yeah. Okay. So honey, you just picked up an action figure, and you can tell me the name of it. How many action figures would you say there are for all these movies?
Oh, well, the original figures, this is called the vintage line, from Kenner. They made probably in the area of about 110 different figures altogether, plus the variations. There's probably literally almost 350 figures with the various variations, but maybe only about 110, 112 actual different figures. maybe 120 total.
And you can name all of them.
Well, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the newer line was, started in '95, and that's by Hasbro. And there's been over 1,100 different of those, and not including variations. Who knows? The variations might be in the 2,000.
Can you name all those?
No, probably not.
Okay. But you focus mostly on the older stuff.
Well, no, I do both. But the newer stuff is not so much for the loose figures as far as the conditioning. Obviously, the quality of the production quality on the newer figures was, much more equal. So there isn't as much variation. They don't have as much play wear. And by that time, most kids weren't just playing with them. Yeah, you get some that are played with, but with the newer figures, the production numbers, if they're just played with and got some, scuffs and they're not very good, people just throw them away as far as collectors because there's enough of them out there. But and I've thrown a few vintage figures away that have been so bad there's no point in keeping them. But most of these are pretty decent. Like I said, I'll go through all these, try to match up with some weapons. I don't have many weapons in this lot, but there's some in this bag, and I've got hundreds more from various other sources that I've, and I'll try to complete as many as I can, and try to get the ones that are best shape and get them graded.
So what are you talking about when you say weapons?
The little guns and blasters and axes, the various. There's an axe that goes with different figures. I mean, almost every figure came with an accessory. Some came with as many as 4 accessories. And the accessories themselves are harder to find than the figures in some cases because, they got sucked up by vacuums.
So if you don't have an accessory, then your figure can't get graded, or is...
Right. It has to be fully complete to be graded.
Oh. And how much does it cost to grade one?
Anywhere from $25 to $65, just depending on what the accessories are, how big it is.
Oh, okay. So you could have quite an investment.
Yeah, if you've got 150 different figures with you've gotten averaging $30, it's $4,500 just in a grading system.
Right.
So yeah, it can get pretty expensive, and of course they also grade carded figures, these same figures that are mint uncut.